We'll go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Charles City Board of Education to order and have roll call attendance, please.
Walker.
Here.
Dyke.
Here.
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 Agenda item 2 is the reading of the district mission statement by Vice President Dyke.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning.
Thank you. And agenda item 3 is the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections? Mike, any corrections?
None at this time, no.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
I'll second.
Motion second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 4 is to welcome the visitors and receive public comment. Does anyone wish to make public comment this evening? Hearing none, we will move on. Agenda item 5, comments by board members and the superintendent.
So a lot of nice things happening in the facilities. Appreciate Jerry and his crew doing a lot of things. We're finishing up some concrete work at Lincoln on the playground, so they have a little bit more to do to finish out the basketball hoops. We're gonna get the basketball hoops installed also, just to learn in my direction. That'd be the east of the middle school. Also added a little bit of concrete, as you saw in the weekly update. We're going to redo the traffic flow at Washington to assist with the traffic being backed up on Grand. Been out in a lot of buildings, doing a lot of classroom observations, saying hi and helping out. Been subbing as principals when we've had sick principals, so that's been a lot of fun. And continue to have a lot of community meetings. Now up to, I think 80 is what we're up to in terms of community meetings, and keep doing that work. So it's been a productive couple weeks.
Awesome. Any board members?
I have one. Want to make sure everybody realizes it's not on the school calendar, but it has been on Facebook. This Sunday, September 16th at 4 o'clock in the new middle school gym, there's going to be an informational meeting regarding the new sports complex. And according to their Facebook post, they're gearing their meeting towards anyone who would like to ask questions or hear information. The information that will be discussed will be the progress that's been made, the progress that still needs to be made, and why the district has chosen to go this route. So anybody in the public who's available this Sunday afternoon at 4, encourage and welcome you to attend that informational meeting.
There was an amendment. I talked to Dana Sullivan today. It's 6:30 now.
6:30 now, okay. I have not seen that adjustment, but thank you.
And what day was that again, please?
This Sunday.
Excellent. Any additional comments?
I participated in the 5K run walk between schools. Mine might have been more of a 4K, but I wanted to just give a shout out to Kara and the Washington group that put that on. I had my 5 girls that participated with me. We had a blast. It was a fun time. And thanks, Scott, for being there. Get to the very end, and there's Scott parked there and rooting us on to the very end. So appreciated that.
Only 3 or 4 blocks to go from my post, so.
And I brought up the last.
Excellent. Anything else?
I just want to say I think the new signs on the schools look great. You know, especially sitting watching a football game and then you look over and you see that logo on the side of the building. It's just,
Yeah.
I think it looks really, really great.
very
So thank you
refreshing.
for
There's
getting that taken care
there's
of.
some additional things happening. First of all, Jerry's working on getting lights on it, so you'll be able to see it at
Okay.
night. We are thinking you'll be able to see it from 218.
Wow.
And we are getting additional signage at the other buildings as well, finishing that up. We'll have it all ready for homecoming.
Very nice.
I've been really impressed by all the exciting stuff that's going on in the classroom. Some of the updates. Mr. Wilson's class was one that was this week, which I thought was really interesting, getting kids moving around, and especially at a young age, I think that's really very exciting and a good learning opportunity for them. So we want to thank him for that work. I know he's not here tonight, but
Be sure to pass it along. Yeah.
thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, we will move on to the annual meeting portion of our agenda, and I will pass the gavel on to Superintendent Fisher.
All right, at this time, number 6, we'll call for nominations for the board president. We'll call that 3 times. So I now open and entertain nominations for the role of board president for 2018-2019.
I would like to nominate Robin for board president for 2018-19.
Okay, we have a nomination for Robin Maycomer for board president. Call for nominations for a second time. call for nominations a third time. Nominations are now closed, and we will now name Robin Maycomer as the new board president for 2018-19. Pass the gavel to
The,
you.
both? No?
Yes. Terry.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board president in the Charles City Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do. Moving on to agenda item 7, we'll call for nominations for board vice president for the 2018-19 year, please.
I nominate Jason Walker.
Second time, we do 3 times also for this. I will again ask for nominations for the vice president for 18-19. Third time, I'll call for nominations for the board vice president for 2018-19. Close it, Jason.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Vice President in the Charles City Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8, appointment of district secretary treasurer for 2018-19. Recommendations?
I'll make a motion to name Terry O'Brien as district secretary and treasurer for the 2018-19.
Second.
We go ahead and just, or do we ask 3 times?
No,
No, we can go ahead.
no, just,
Roll
Roll
call.
vote then?
Or no,
No.
not roll call, but yeah.
A vote, okay. All those in favor say
Aye.
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 All those in favor, all those not in favor? All right. Terry, you are the board district secretary. Do we need to be sworn in out?
Sworn in also.
yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of treasurer secretary in Charles City Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do.
Moving on to agenda item number 9, appointment of legal counsel for 2018-19. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint, is it Ehlers and Cooney as legal counsel for 2018-19?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ehlers and Cooney as legal counsel for 2018-19. Agenda item number 10, naming of district official publication. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the Charles City Press as the district's official publication.
Second.
I'll second.
There's a second to approve the Charles City Press as the district's official publication. We'll take roll call, or excuse me, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Agenda item 11, committee appointments for 2018-19. If you look over our standing committees on facility, we have Jason Scott. If you're willing to stay, willing to continue on with those. Communications and public relations, Josh and Missy, willing to stay,
Yeah.
continue on. Financial Committee, Scott, Josh.
Yep.
Yep.
Negotiations and Compensation, myself and Josh.
Yes.
Policy, Missy and myself? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Additional appointments to the following committees. SIAC. There was some discussion about SIAC. Missy, are you
Yes.
still interested in?
Good.
Yes,
I
I'm
would-
interested in.
I would love to give that to you.
So,
And
had a
I'll
lot of-
maintain mine.
I've just had a lot of conflicts with the meeting times, so.
so we'll keep SIAC then with Scott and Missy. Delegate to Iowa School Board Delegate Assembly. Anybody volunteering?
It's gotta be you.
Okay, I'll continue. Also, as a note, because I know some of you, if you've never been to one, I did learn this year that if I take a guest in to watch, you actually do get 5 better boardsmanship credits. So if you feel like you've done the other classes that are offered during that time, you can join me with that. County Conference Board Representative.
I think typically
Jason?
that's the board president, right, or does it matter?
Well, it was never me, but that's,
Wasn't it?
no.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Are you
It's-
fine to just
That's
give me
fine,
that?
yep,
Okay.
yeah, it meets
They
like 2
meet
times a year.
Twice a year.
3
yeah.
times a year,
Okay.
that's fine. Yep.
Agenda item 12. Levels 1 and 2.
Whoa.
That was an action item.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to assign the committee appointments as recommended or shown, agreed upon.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes. Agenda item 12, levels 1 and 2 investigator for allegations of abuse of student by staff, school staff.
I'd make a motion that the board name Marcia DeVore as the district's level 1 investigator for the 2018-19 school year. And the
Second.
level 2 investigator be a liaison from the Charles City Police Department.
Is there a
I'll-
second?
Second.
Administration, the board, the board names Marcia DeVore as the district's level 1 investigator for 2018-19 school year. The level 2 investigator is liaison from the school police department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Agenda item 12 passed. Agenda item 13, affidavits for depository.
Just informational.
It's just informational exhibit to Terry.
Yep, informational exhibits showing our balance in CUS Bank at $8,961,786.37 at year end. Bankers Trust, $1,473,215.19, and First Citizens National Bank, $145,500 at year end.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, this is for discussion action. Naming of school depositories for 2018-19. Terry?
We're required to set an amount of depositories for any bank that we plan to deposit in. Our main bank, we're not anticipating changing, so, you know, I've set the amount high so that we wouldn't have to amend, because if you do go over, you have to amend. It doesn't mean anything about spending, it's just naming of depositories and our maximum.
Motion to approve the list of depository banks and amounts as listed for 2018-19.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second has been accepted to approve the list of depository banks and the amounts as listed for 2018-19. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda item 14 approved. Is there anything different that we need to do since we're going now into the regular meeting? Nope, all right. Agenda item 15, appointment of student board member. This is a discussion action item. This is a good one. 2 students completed the application to serve as student board members, and after screening process, administrators recommended the following member. Is there any other discussion or comments?
I think it's exciting to see a student interested in being on the school board. It's a really exciting opportunity, and we're really glad to have you here. So we look forward to working with you at this.
Very good.
I move to appoint Isaiah Tilton as a student board member for 18-19.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Isaac Tilton as a student school board member for 2018. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Agenda item 15 passed. Congratulations.
Oath of office?
Yes.
Welcome.
Is there oath, yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of student board member in the Charles City Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do.
Congrats.
Agenda item 16, committee reports. I think we don't have any this week, so we'll just move right along. Agenda item 17, job shadowing. I see you found the tiles.
I did, and I have the list
Oh, and you
of
did
everybody,
the
so.
spreadsheet.
So I want to make sure I honor the traditions, dude. You know what? I think Isaiah should pull the numbers. That would be much more entertaining. So I'll take that down to him.
Sure.
And in spirit of, I'll set that there, of our paradigm shift that no matter who you are or your qualifications, every adult that works in our school district is a teacher. Every staff member is located on here, even our food service, custodial, clerical, and administrators. And we are starting with the Charles City High School this time. So I have everybody numbered here. So how do we want to, we're going to start with board member Walker. So go ahead and poll.
Get a good one.
67.
67. David Vobis, a TLC instructional coach at the high school.
That's a good
Lucky.
one.
Wait, has he been done already?
Yes, he
He
has.
did.
Are we
I
gonna,
did him last year.
should we,
I did too.
should we pull new ones if they've been done or not? What do you think?
Let's, what do you think?
Yeah, let's pull him to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Assuming we
don't,
have
Maybe
them
if they've
before.
been
Let's spread the love.
visited within a year.
yeah, spread, sorry, nothing of David, I just,
Yeah.
47.
47 would be Julie Parker in the special education department. She's an instructional assistant. As for board member Dyke, number 58 would be Matthew Sindlinger, one of our custodians.
Director Fruden? Go ahead.
69.
69. Director Freund would be 69 would be
Ooh.
David Williams.
you'll enjoy that one.
Who
Math.
did I get?
Dave
Dave
Williams.
Williams, math.
Awesome.
He also needed help.
Days
His-
will be fun.
His basement had some water, so he might have you help out with that too. So.
Oh, that's tough.
Board member Matt, go ahead.
61.
All the high notes.
Derek Sturdivant, vocal music.
Great. 63.
63. So Director Maycumber, 63 would be Julie Tabring, special ed, instructional assistant. TJABRING.
Thank you.
And for you?
And you get to pull for your. Do you want to pull for yourself or?
Actually,
Oh, Terry, going for it. Okay.
59.
59 would be Brett Spurgeon, who's one of our agriculture teachers. So Spurgeon.
Thank you.
We have until the,
First meeting in
no,
October.
October, first meeting in October to get our visits in. Agenda item 18, interest-based bargaining. This is an information item. I'd like to welcome Dana and Sarah.
I attended the conference, so I'll do it as well, so.
My teacher.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for letting us come and chat with you tonight. Want me to start? You want to start?
I'll start. How's that?
Sounds great.
So we had the opportunity to attend a joint symposium, labor symposium in July that was held between school administrators of Iowa and the Iowa State Education Association. So it was great. Your labor associations were joined with the school administrators and talking about better practices that we can do as school districts. One of the big topics was interest-based bargaining. Interest-based bargaining is a different way, instead of going in as a conflict-based piece, which sometimes can naturally happen in the bargaining process, but rather than you have a common interest, and for us it would be our mission, vision, core values, and then we try to take our interest and work towards that way. It's not a cure-all. It's not, just perfection and candy canes and candy all the time. It still can be difficult, but it gives you a paradigm of a different way to work. With our focus on culture and climate, we felt that this could be a very powerful piece. Moving down the road, it would take some intensive training of our negotiations team. But one of the nice paradigm shifts, instead of thinking of it as a negotiations team, it really becomes your labor management committee, which we have already established anyway, that works through a lot of different things together. And this team meets year-round rather than just through the bargaining season. We've talked to some UNISERV directors in Eastern Iowa that could help provide some training, and it could even extend to administrators, the teams for both classified and certified personnel, and board members as well. We came out really inspired from that. I feel like we did. I don't want to speak for you. I would go, my best Seinfeld quote, there has to be a better way, and finding that and realizing that, after and just being open and honest, that it was a challenging negotiation season last year. All the school districts that have done this before, and some of them have done it for 25, 30 years, have said it was precipitated by a tough bargaining season to say, let's try something different. So I'm going to set the premise, but I wanted to, rather than a formal presentation, we've talked a little bit in some of our weekly updates, but provide all of us to share back any questions that you may have or other things. I'll let our outstanding teachers share out some other points too.
I just want to say first thanks to Mike, because he pretty much as soon as he took over as superintendent, he called me up. He was like, hey, do you want to go to this? And I was like, okay, sounds great, let's go. So it was just really nice, one, for Dana and I to get to spend the day with him, because that was kind of our first introduction to him into the district, so that was very, very exciting. And then to come back and really, one of the things that I really enjoyed about the day was they did have about 5 different schools that presented that have been doing some form of interest-based bargaining. I think one of them for, almost 25 years. So it was really nice to get to hear them talk about just, we've taken something that can be a conflict and really kind of make it an easy road for our district, which I just think is great. So that was one thing I think I really took away. I was very excited about. We are looking into getting a training. So hopefully that will kind of help all parties involved understand the process, and will make things much more happy and mutual working forward for the future. So that's very exciting.
All right, well, thank you for having us. I just want to say that last year was my first year participating as part of the negotiations team. I don't know if I really participated as much as I just observed. For various reasons, we knew that there was going to be an opening, and thankfully they asked me to kind of sit in and take part in it and learn from the negotiations piece. Well, I was told that I'd really love it because it's going back and forth and you kind of play your chess pieces and see what happens. I didn't really love it. It wasn't my favorite time. Those meetings at 6:30 in the morning were not exciting, and it was very stressful. And I thought that it caused tension between teachers and community members and school board members that truly have the teachers and the students' best interest at heart. And so while it was interesting to me because I'm a numbers person, both with an accounting degree and a math teacher, that part was very interesting. The rest of it, kind of playing against one another when you know that you're all from Charles City, and now we use this word Charles City family, we're all family. It wasn't a family at that time. It was like a brother-sister fight that no one could make any resolutions. And it wasn't my most favorite part of teaching. Let's just put it that way. So I went to this conference with them, or symposium, and it was actually very enlightening. The basis behind interest-based bargaining is more to meet year-round instead of trying to meet from February to April or May and hashing it out and going at it. Instead, it was, hey, let's meet all year long. There's issues that can be taken care of all year, not just at the end of the year for the following or for the next year, which really, when you hear it said like that, it makes total sense. Why would you leave all of your issues or discrepancies or areas where you conflict to the very last moment? It doesn't make sense. This instead was, hey, let's meet monthly. Let's get some of the key pieces figured out on a routine. That way, when it comes to that quote unquote negotiations piece, everybody knows where they stand. Everybody knows what the other side is needing or wanting. And it's not just like a tough guy mojo of let me see what I can get out of this. That symposium inspired me to read a book, which I wouldn't normally read unless it was for my benefit in my leisure. But this one, I came out and I was like, boom, I had to order it. And the book was called Getting to Yes, and it was really about making you see, like, if Sarah and I have a conflict, we might have a hard shell because we're just upset with the conflict, when in reality is, if we can figure out what Sarah wants from it, and if Sarah can figure out what I want from it, maybe we can come to a mutual agreement much more easily, and still realize that we all have the best interest of the district at heart. So that was really what I took from it, and just having the negotiations observation piece for 1 year and then going to this, it just seemed to me that it's worth the while to at least explore it further and have everyone on the same page all year long, rather than the end of the year hustle and bustle, I guess, of negotiations.
One of the hallmarks of it is building trust. You build a trusting team that when they get to that, instead of thinking of, here's a team that only does negotiations, that's why we're together, it's a trusting team of people that happen to also do the negotiations work. This is one of the things they do, because we talk to schools, they resolve a lot of conflicts and issues through this team throughout the year. So it's just, you build that trust rapport. What I love, Pleasant Valley's been doing this for 25 years. They have all their meetings scheduled out for the whole year, and the last one in May is they all go out to eat, kind of celebration. Like, that's really cool. So it's something we're excited about. So we just entertain questions from the board about the process or more things you want to know.
Will Josh and I have an opportunity to either participate in some of this training or also hear more detailed report on your training? I guess a lot more detail than just what we might hear here at the board table, since we're on that committee.
We would love for you to participate in training. They encourage board members to do that. The bummer is it's a 3-day, full-day intensive training. So it could be too that we'll talk to the trainers and see about if, could we slim that down? Maybe we have a board member specific, or there's a particular day you need to be at. But you can tell it's all about time in the room together. They're putting a team of school administrators and also UNICEF people, so it's a blend. It's not just one side, it's very blended. Actually, they are very upfront with us too. They have to make sure we're ready. We're going through a readiness assessment, so I'll get some stuff out to you. There's some surveys they want us to take to make sure that we have all the conditions right on the ground. I had a good conversation with a UNICEF person from the Mississippi Valley area, and she said, what I'm hearing on the phone sounds like you guys are very ready for this. So we're hoping.
So I have a couple questions. Do you feel that we're ready to begin this process this year, from the two on the negotiations team, from the
I am not on the negotiations team, so I'll put that out there.
Mine
But
is-
I think we all know that my husband is, he's the chief negotiator.
Right, yeah.
He is very excited about this. As Dana mentioned, just due to the stress from last year, he is ready for something new. He is ready for something far more calm and easy. So I think from the perspective of our local association, we are very ready for it. Again, I guess they'll tell us if we are or not, but we feel like we are. We're pretty committed to it and wanting to make it happen, so.
The great thing about negotiations last year is that we had decided to create this labor management team. So I feel like in the back of our minds, we kind of thought that already. We were already on that path. Now, whether we are 100% jumping in with both feet, going to do it perfectly this year, that I don't know. I really don't. But if you don't start somewhere, then you're going to be stuck in the same rut. I think with our labor management team, and then what I got out of this interest-based bargaining symposium is that they allow you to work through some basic questions. They kind of give you, I want to say like a scroll or something to work with and ask questions and really try to see things from other people's perspective. I feel as though in the back of our minds we had this idea, and what we might not have known it at the time, but we've already have things in place just based on negotiations last year and creating the committee and having that being made up of school board members and teachers, negotiators, things like that. It seemed like we were on the right path to begin with.
I can just add that all the districts that were there did it differently. I don't think there's like a model for like, this is how you do it.
Good.
They kind of fit that, what
We
works
can
best
decide,
for my
because it is
district.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've sat in on that, obviously the whole time I've been on the board, I've been involved with negotiations, and that's always been my plea, is for us to find a way to be even nicer to each other.
Yes.
Just to make this a better, more educational process too. Waiting till the very end to have all these questions and then try to cram it all in this little bit of time.
Yeah.
And like you said, like Dana said, we're all have the exact same goal, yet when we come into this room, it's like as if we've never met before. So it's very strange, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited about
And
this.
I'll mention West Des Moines Community Schools presented. They don't technically do interest-based bargaining. However, they do a lot of attributes of it. So they showed an example of, hey, you don't necessarily have to even officially fly this flag. There's some things that you can take. So we saw that, even if the readiness assessment doesn't come out, there's some great things that we can start doing, like having the team. We already have built a schedule of having the team meet at panic attack. I thought the meeting went tonight because Dana goes, with the IBB, and I go, there's a board meeting, I can't do both. She goes, no, we're presenting about it. I came back around. But, we're just excited about that. So I think any level of implementation that we find is appropriate for us, but like you said, finding a different way.
I think it'll be interesting, if nothing else, as you're having the conversation to ease into a different process. I know I'm looking forward to that as well. I end up having been the alternate to negotiations over the last few years if one of the other board members is missing or unavailable, and I'm looking forward to something a little easier when I have to attend those meetings as well, so.
Josh, you have a second question.
I did, yeah. So when do you think we should begin this process?
Well, we kind of came up with a schedule already, just like a tentative plan, but we have not formally met, the three of us. Our first meeting is actually tomorrow after school. So I'm sure that's one of the items that we will be discussing. Because, like I said, we kind of put it together from the association side, and then we're like, okay, now we need to hear from like the administrative side, like what would you like to see out of it as well, so we can come to a compromise from the very beginning on that.
They made some great Google Docs I'm looking forward to. A lot of exciting things, and just, again, getting us all in a room, talk about the training could be a great first step, and just go it from there, so.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So will we see you, Mrs. Sullivan, as the pinch hitting chief negotiator now?
No.
Okay.
That's why she asked me to come on, and I said, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 19, high school renovation project. This information item. Superintendent Fisher.
In your exhibits and also in the weekly update, I sent a link to this as well, but there's an action plan, and you'll see as you work with me, there's an action plan template I use, and I try to make it clear what's our end in mind, what's our current reality, where are we going, and then the big thing is the steps you're going to take. What you'll notice, and this is very important, there's no dates, there's just a sequence. As I thought about, here's the important things that have to happen for us to move on with the high school renovation. And so you'll notice some of the things that are already happening, obviously conducting many stakeholder interviews from July and August, but continuing that on to just figure out what our current reality is and some of the political realities that we're in. working with Piper Jaffray to figure out bonding capacity we've already done. We are working to reestablish our community high school renovation committee, formerly the Phase 2 committee. We're working now, we feel that high school renovation is a much more accurate term. That's something we're doing. We're utilizing much, in our initial plans right now, utilizing much of the existing infrastructure that is not as dated and can be renovated. Engaging BLDD right now. So our senior leadership team, including Jerry Mitchell, Brian Jerns, Larry Wolf, myself, Justin DeVore, and Todd Forsyth are meeting with BLDD weekly over Skype to talk about the design process. Getting a high school renovation task force. Teams are kind of ongoing. Task force have a very specific purpose, and we are trying to get district staff, students, and stakeholders for design input, as well as board members as well. But we want to make sure all people are represented. So that task force will meet regularly. They will give some of the heavy lifting of the input on what our kids need. They're the professionals working with our kids daily, so we trust a lot their judgment in that, and so we're giving them kind of the parameters to work within that. You'll see conduct a needs assessment through the high school renovation task force. We're really working with them to say what's a want, what's a need, and really distill that down. And all this will be around our vision, mission, core values, obviously. And review past site visits. There's a lot of site visits that have went out, but we're reviewing those as well, and also conducting the additional site visits we may need to do. And a lot of those will be very specific around specific things, whether it's an auditorium or a weight space or a particular open concept classroom. We're going to try to find those, because we realize there's very few sites that will be exactly what we need, but there's some sites that will have aspects of what we need. I can tell you, Justin DeVore and myself are conducting an initial advanced tour of Oskaloosa community schools this week because we want to look at one of their auditoriums. We want to look at a high school renovation space they did about 10 years ago with a current 1950 types building. We're going to go down first because we also don't want to send teachers and staff out and then we find it's not a useful visit, so that's a big thing. Conduct community and stakeholder input sessions to gather additional input on needs for the project. So as we get a finalized, draft of designs, getting that out, getting more feedback, frame through our vision and mission, core values, make a recommendation to the board on the proposed plan. And once we get to there, then once we get to the point where we have that considered 45 days out, we would, from the election date that we've selected, we call the vote. So this plan, again, is just up to the call of the vote. Once we get to that point, we'll conduct a plan that will take us through the next phases. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are all up to speed, up to date what we're doing and where we're at, and I'd entertain any questions you may have right now on the plan.
Mr. Fisher, I have a couple questions. One would be, is this something that's a public document that the public can see and kind of understand where we're at and what we're going towards?
Yep, absolutely. It's a board exhibit that is out there as well. So it's out here. So obviously with the press here tonight, we'll have that, and we can make that available on the website as needed, and we can provide that upon request.
I think this would be really helpful information for your tours around town, the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and those guys. When they ask questions, I think this is a great document to be able to share them. So we're sending the same messages, which you've clearly described in your expression of this, and I think it's awesome. I talked to the Lions Club on Friday, and this was very much my talking points. Awesome.
So
it's great. It's very well done, very nicely thought out. So thank you for that.
thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Questions?
Student board member Tilton was actively involved in the formerly called Phase 2 committee a year and a half ago and went on a number of site visits with faculty, staff, and board members, and even spent much of the ride home from one trip that I went on laptop designing a new high school concept based upon his own thoughts. So I think we made a good choice, and he'll have a lot of additional input from his own perspective and from students as well. So look forward to having him involved and hearing his thoughts as we move forward.
When I was part of that committee, I really did get a lot of ideas and perspectives of what students there wanted and didn't want. So it's a good way to incorporate what do we need, what do we want, what don't we want.
Excellent view from a student's view. Also, we see one thing and you definitely see a total another. And a student's point of view is very important in the process. Any other additional comments, questions?
So how do you intend to find the students to be part of this task force of yours?
Mr. Jurens and Mr. Wolf right now are making plans on assembling this task force, which actually will be a call out to the entire school district. But we're also going to have some tights on being the task force. It's not just coming on and saying, "Ooh, this is my opinion." It's kind of like Congress. You have to be representative of your constituents. So we want a broad section of core teachers, elective teachers, athletic coaches, fine arts teachers, students in doing that. And we're going to entertain all people to come out, but then we're going to lay out, one of the expectations of your student member is to hold listening posts at the school. Hey, we need people to come in, I want you. And so that way, when you share out to the task force recommendations, it's not, oh, this is what Isaiah wants, this is what our students are wanting. And also getting out to our elementaries and out to our middle school, because unfortunately, Isaiah, it probably won't be completely in time for you to enjoy. So you're leaving a legacy. But there are kids in our school system that will enjoy this work coming up. And so we want to make sure their voices are heard in that. We'll also do entertain calls out to the public as well. What I'll tell you is all the task force meetings will be absolutely public for anybody to attend, but there will be a core group that we're tasking with going out and getting people's voice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So expect some more emails and announcements to come out. I'd say even the next week. We're actually kind of waiting for the board to see all of this, and then now you're going to see some email traffic coming out on those things. So if you know of people, spread the good word.
Excellent. All right, move on. Agenda item 20, district core values. This is an action discussion item. We were presented with the district core values at the 8/13 meeting of this year. Do you have any comments or discussion? Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve the district core values is recommended.
Do you have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the district core values as recommended. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any additional comments?
I just have one comment that I was thinking of looking at this, because I would think it would be cool to have a poster of this. I wonder if we made that available at the comic card, how many kids would use their comic cards to purchase that?
Mm-hmm.
That is-
Even something that they could just hang in their locker, but,
Sure.
on like a poster type paper. So,
I can look into that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Excellent idea. Thank you. Agenda item 21, superintendent board goals for 2018-19. This is an action item. Comments, discussion?
So from our work with Harry and Iowa Association of School Boards, I've been working on a draft of this for a good part of the, since I started. Also conversations, one-on-one conversations with all the board members, with our community, with our staff, and really come up with these three big pieces. One, being a new superintendent, my professional learning and making sure I learn the job. Number two, it's been very clear to me that culture and climate is a huge mission of our district this year. And then finally, our facilities and infrastructure goal as well. I was glad to work with Harry and you all to really clarify and get this codified. And so you'll see the success criteria that we'll be working towards. I've also run this by the school administrators of Iowa and at least 4 other superintendent mentors of mine to give me feedback as well. So I'll entertain any feedback or things that you have on this and just questions you may have.
I think they're good. I think they really capture what we talked about, so I think,
From
I'm
our
pretty,
workshop, yeah.
yeah, I agree.
pretty satisfied with them.
I agree with Jason, they're well thought out.
Yep.
They're very clear, and I think they're very specific and measurable, so they're very easy to say, okay, we did this or we didn't do it.
Very good. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the 2018-19 priority superintendent board goals as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, to adopt the 2018-19 priority superintendent board goals as presented. Roll call, or excuse me, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other discussion? I'll get this right, I promise. Agenda item 22, notice of public hearing. This is an action item. Any comments or discussion?
Motion to set the date and time for a public hearing on use of flexibility funds for September 24th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the middle school 7th grade learning studio as per the resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to set the date and time for the public hearing on use of flexible funds for September 24th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the middle school 7th grade learning studio as per the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other comments? Agenda item 23, 2017-18 Certified Annual Report. Terry?
Okay, so I have a PowerPoint I'll show you, but in addition to that, there's a lot more detail in your exhibits. I gave you several reports. There's the treasurer's report, we got a budget crosswalk report, which shows revenue and expenses for all funds by category. So if you wanna see more detail, you can look in the exhibits, but what I put together is really just the high points and a couple of graphs that we normally show each year. So start with really one of the more important numbers, the undesignated fund balance this year did go down 14.7%. That was expected. I mean, we had decided to do some one-time spending, and we did bring that down. Now, in addition to the undesignated fund balance, there's other categories of fund balance, which I've listed down below, because we always talk about categorical funds. And you can see in that chart that our categorical funds went down quite a bit, from 709,000 to 556,000. So went down quite a bit, and this year we didn't commit, the board didn't commit any funds for ISL as well. So the total change in fund balance was about 527,000. Now this just shows a graph of where we've been with our undesignated, unrestricted fund balance. You can see if you kind of drew it down the middle, we're kind of right in the same range. You know, it does fluctuate from year to year, but right now we're just under 1.5 million. So another important piece of our financial health is the unspent balance. And the unspent balance does take into consideration the total of our fund balance, not just the undesignated amount. And I did write a note in there that if you were to take out the categorical funds, we would have went from 3.5 to $3.2 million of unspent balance. I know we've hung right around that $4 million range for a while, and yeah, so we're just under that now. So next I'll talk about general fund revenue. Overall, our general fund revenue went down 1.6%, from 17.9 million to 17.6 million, and kind of talk about a little bit of why this change and what each of the parts did. So our local taxes, property taxes, went down 6.1%. Now, if you think back to when we did our budget, our property tax rate was about the same. So what that means is a smaller portion of that property tax rate went to general fund. We did increase our management fund levy in prior years, so that kind of explains why. You know, if we were to, if our overall property tax rate would have just decreased 1.5% if the general fund part of it, you know, hadn't changed. The tuition and other local sources, we had an 8.5% decrease. A large part of that, we had one large sale in our prior year that was a one-time revenue. So without that, our local tuition and other local sources would have actually increased. And just as a side note, our interest income did go up 20,000. State sources was about the same. There showed a 0.1% decrease. Federal sources increased 17%. A lot of that was we did have an increase in our Medicaid reimbursement. So that was 152,000. That's very good. That decreases our special ed deficit, which we needed to do. So this is just a chart showing the various changes that make up general fund revenue. Next, I'll talk about general fund expenses. They basically were the same, steady. If you combined salary and benefits, there was just a 0.1% increase in spending. So pretty much the same. Other expenses decreased a little bit. Interesting part, our salary and benefits make up a greater percentage of our general fund expense. It went from 82.4% to 81.8%. And here again shows, you know, you get a better feel for salary and benefits. They make up a huge part of our budget. And so you can also see services, supplies, and other expenses as well. Next, this is the chart that I show you every month that has our expenses and revenue by category. Our revenue came in at 0.7% over what we anticipated. So basically came in right where we thought we would come in. Our expenses were 3.3% under, but keep in mind I had in the budget for expenses included categorical funds because we don't know when we're going to spend those. And we did spend more of them, but there are still categorical funds that we haven't spent yet. Next, we'll talk about solvency ratio. Right now, we're at 8.27%. You know, the IASB has a target solvency ratio between 5 and 15, so we're within that zone. So take a look, we went from 10.22 down to 9.53 to 8.27.
And some of that was intentional
Right,
over the last couple of years
right,
to bring those down a little bit.
right. We did do some one-time expenses that did bring that down. In the governmental fund, so up until this point, we've talked about general fund. So just a little bit of information on our other funds. Sales tax, PEPAL, debt service. You can see a big decline from 2016 to 2017, but since 2017, we've stayed about the same. So in 2016, we had used part of our fund balance to fund our middle school addition. So now that that's all paid out, we do have the bond payments yet, but it is staying about the same. So
As well as the new transportation center
right,
came out of there as
right.
over $1 million.
Yep, and the
Okay.
parking lots and everything else. We had some bigger projects. In the capital projects fund, the 213,000 showing at year end, that is our athletic complex, what we've set aside through either donations or our in-kind match. Management fund, you can see there, did go up, you know, from 338,000 to almost 600,000. So student activity is about the same. In our proprietary funds, we have the food nutrition fund. We did have an increase, like 40,000, so from 83,000 to 123,000. Health fund is about the same. And then this chart is again the same chart that I show you each month, kind of just comparing where our final numbers came in for each of the funds as far as revenue and expense. And that was all I had. If you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Terry? Excellent information.
I just commend you for all the work that goes into this. I know it's a lot of work to put this together, and everyone that's contributed to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank them.
There's a lot of,
Months
lot
of
other-
July and August.
July
You
and
guys are
August.
busy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the exhibits are online and available to the public to view.
Right.
Are we gonna put your PowerPoint online in the next day or two as well?
We can.
Okay.
I'll make a note to put that on.
I can take care of that, Terry.
Okay.
This is an action item.
Yep.
Any more discussion?
Move to approve the 2017-18 certified annual report as submitted.
Second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2017-18 certified annual report as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any additional comments? Agenda item 23 passes. Agenda item 24, special education supplement. This is also an action item. Terry?
The special education supplement is not a different fund. All our special education expenses revenue are within the general fund, so is part of that exhibit. It's just part of the general fund that makes this up. And the state has a report that you put together at the end of every year. It's kind of a surprise because you really don't know where this is gonna come in at. And this year, largely due to the Medicaid reimbursement increasing 150,000, our special education deficit went down from 577,000 last year to 226,000 this year. So significant decrease. So it's very good news.
And extra good news, this is something the state gives us the authority to collect through local property tax, correct?
Right.
So a
we
big
wouldn't
decrease
levy.
here, yeah, a big decrease here is a big bonus for those in the district.
Right.
And one thing, it's interesting that this has always been something that I've kind of tried to keep an eye on or look at. I always wondered, well, if there's, how many districts have a negative, and it's 90-some% of the districts in the state operate in the red in their special education department, so.
If you don't spend the revenue you generate through your students, you have to return it to the state. So it would become an expense then.
Yeah. Motion to request supplemental state aid in the amount of $226,487.94 for the fiscal year of 2018 negative special education balance.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second to request supplemental state aid in the amount of $226,487.94 for the fiscal year 2018 negative special education balance. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any additional comments? Agenda item 24 passes. Agenda item 25, fiscal report for August 2018. This is an action item again. Terry.
Fiscal report is included in your exhibits, and I'm not really going to make any comment about August other than next month you'll be able to see a comparison of our expenses to budget. Because so far in July and August, a lot of the salaries for the teachers, the main part of it was actually accrued in last year's budget. So starting in September is the first payment for our teachers for this fiscal year, 2018-19.
Excellent.
When do we receive our state aid payments?
This month now,
In September, we'll
Right.
start receiving them.
right.
And then, this is also the month that property taxes are paid, so the treasurer's office will start sending us money as those come in, or do we get one lump sum?
We get it throughout the year.
Okay,
But the big payment is coming in October after the September deadline, and again in April after the March deadline.
Have a motion?
move to accept the August 2018 financial reports as presented.
Second.
I'll
Sec-
second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the August 2018 fiscal report as presented. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other additional comments? Agenda item 25 passes. Agenda item 26, consideration of consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed below.
Have a second?
I had one quick question related to item H in middle school PE fundraiser. What is the speed stack sport cups? I looked them up. Is that one set for the number of sold, or multiple sets for the number we sell?
My understanding it was multiple, but let me check. It's the stack cups. I
Yeah,
believe.
because I was like, if that's one for one PE class, they're gonna beat each other up to get to do it.
No, and those aren't, yeah, I would assume those, I read that and assumed multiple as
Okay,
well,
great.
so.
Just make
Yeah,
sure.
'cause,
Thank you.
yeah, because one would not go very well. That's gonna cost more shoes than it wouldn't, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 27, correspondence and miscellaneous. Any comments?
Nice report
See.
from Harry.
Yes. Yes. that was nice follow on his part. Agenda item 28, important upcoming dates. September 24th is a board social for new teachers at 5:45 here. Just a reminder.
What time is the SiAC meeting on the 26th? Does anyone know?
Been typically at 5 o'clock, but
Okay.
maybe that'll change with Mike and Rich.
Yeah, we're gonna go at the same time,
5
5 o'clock,
o'clock.
yeah.
Okay.
5 o'clock's what I had scheduled.
Okay.
Then I will adjourn